I have been absolutely shit at taking my point and shoot out and taking you through my life. And yeah, it's just been really stressful at work, and honest to God, I would go to work and then I would come home and I would do nothing except like eat macaroni and cheese and then go to bed. So what I'm going to have you do is right now, in your mind, imagine things that you think I would like to do. Just make an assortment of activities that you think I would enjoy, and imagine me doing them for the last week or so. And I can almost guarantee you, actually I will guarantee you, that whatever you imagine me doing over the last week will be miles more interesting than my reality. Today in this video we are talking about IAMX for Nat. She wanted me to review the most recent IAMX album called Metanoia, and so I actually listened to the whole album a couple hours ago, all the way through start to finish, and I wrote down notes and keywords that I thought would be pertinent to the review that I'm going to be giving. I am not going to be giving you like a rundown of who IAMX are, what they do. I can make a video to do that, but this is not that video. And if you have been friends with me on my journal, then you have seen just the overabundance of posts I make related to IAMX. I literally never shut the fuck up about them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link you to all of the posts I've ever written about IAMX. Like, it's just a tag, it's just the IAMX tag, and all of my posts will be there. I've talked about every album, so you can read those and then come back to here and you can see the visual representation of my review. And the other thing, I'm not going to go into too much detail or into too much depth about the context of the album. Like, obviously I'm going to give you some, but if you want details and a timeline, then I'm going to leave you links to a couple of interviews. I have hair in my mouth. As Chris is very open about what happened, he goes into detail very often. Like, anytime he does an interview for the album, he talks about it, because you can't separate this album. Like, this album is literally about what happened to him and his mental illness. So I'm gonna let it come from his mouth and not from mine. So I'm gonna link you to a bunch of interviews, some of the best, some of my favorite, and I'll let you read about it, and then you get more context for the album. Metanoia is an album that is basically 100% about Chris Corner, who's the lead singer, his problems and his experience with chronic insomnia and depression and anxiety after they made Volatile Times. That album was the start of his downfall with insomnia and depression, and circa 2013 they had to cancel almost the entirety of the Summer Unified Field Tour because he was hospitalized. You think that because of that context it's a really, really dark album, and lyrically it's not particularly happy. There's a lot of sort of a very jaded collection of lyrics. There's a lot of references to disappointment with culture and the feelings of betrayal between both politics and the self, and the mind betraying the body. All sorts of references to that, which does make it feel very dark, but there's a lot of moments of light on this album, both by the instrumentations, like this natural, there's plenty of tracks within the record that are definitely dance floor hits that are very like reverb heavy, and I'll get into that later, and very electronic. But there's also a large number of slower songs that are definitely really natural and acoustic, and kind of retain the natural quality and cadences of the instruments that are being used. So there's a lot of moments of light and a lot of moments of dark, and it just strikes a really beautiful balance between those two elements. The main thing that I really want to talk about is the soundstage in this record. What I'm going to say is, if you listen to this album, I really, really, really don't recommend that you listen to it on computer speakers or in-ear headphones. And I know that's like what a lot of people have, but you're doing yourself a disservice, not just with this album, but with most of your music collection. The sound quality coming out of those two things is just, it's muddy. It's gonna give you muddy bass, everything is gonna sound tinny, it's gonna sound underproduced or staticky, there's gonna be blowouts on both the high and the end range of the sounds. It's just not worth it. Like, if you really want to enjoy your musical experience, definitely invest in some good headphones or some good speakers, because it will definitely like reintroduce you to your music collection. And I'll definitely leave like links to good recommendations for headphones, because like I have my big Sony headphones, I love them. It's worth it. You deserve good headphones. Listening on really good speakers or in really good headphones, you hear how absolutely massive the soundstage is. Like, I mean, it's just huge. And there's a lot of reverb on both the microphone for the vocals, there's reverb on guitar, there's a couple reverb on like piano and keys. And because of that reverb and the size of the soundstage, you really feel like it's hollow. Listen to something like No Maker Made Me, which is the opening track on the record. It's really full of instruments. It's really production heavy. It's, you know, there's electronic influences. It's like a dance floor hit. It's just massive. I mean, it's incredible. It's one of my favorite songs. But at the same time, you just feel like you're trapped inside a space with so much, but not enough. And this is a theme that carries throughout the album, this sort of feeling of being trapped, and that hollowness that's coming from the production is the hollowness of his mind. It leads you on this incredible journey from start to finish. You listen to the first track and you listen to the last track and you're just like, how the fuck did we get here? But every song in between is sort of like a journey. It's an interconnected puzzle piece that leads you to the end. And when you get to Wildest Wind, you kind of just like, like you can exhale, like it's over, like you did it, you survived, we made it out in the end, we're gonna be okay. Going back to the production, when you go on this journey of this complete album, the production starts really wide with this massive soundstage, and as it continues and as it goes, the production gets tighter and tighter and tighter and smaller until like finally you get to Surrender. And it's that feeling of being completely enclosed, but also pushing forward and coming out the other side. So when you get to Wildest Wind, the wide production is back, but it's sort of like, it almost feels healthy. Like there's less instrumentation there. You're not being like almost consumed by instrumentation. You're just sort of like moving with the music. And it's that movement of his mind. It's that movement of the journey through the music that makes this such a really special record to listen to. It's a really personal record for him to make. And it almost becomes sort of like you're a voyeur. It's almost voyeuristic to be listening to it, but at the same time, these are really typical mental illnesses to be suffering from, so there's a lot of relatability that's encapsulated within this record, which makes it feel personal to yourself, and you can use it as a tool to heal. I can't recommend it enough. I'm not saying this because, you know, my bias is always going to be like, you probably should listen to IAMX because they're good, but it's also just like, my bias aside, like this is a beautiful record to have. Like it's really, really special. There's a lot of tender moments on here. The first time I listened to Insomnia, I cried. I couldn't do it. Like I just burst into tears. There's something so personal about it, the way it builds. There's a desperate angst and tension, not just within the lyrics and the way his voice is turning these lyrics, but it's the delivery and it's the production and the way the piano just feels so empty. He's singing a lot of these songs in his lower register, which is actually something that's very rare for him to do. If you listen to his earlier records like Kiss and Swallow, The Alternative, even some moments on Kingdom of Welcome Addiction, he sings a lot in his head voice, which is beautiful, but his lower register is something that he used a lot on Volatile Times. And Volatile Times is the record that was being made around the start of all of these problems, like the escalation. So when he was making Volatile Times, everything started to get bad and he just never really stopped helping. So because he has these callbacks in his lower register to Volatile Times, you almost feel like you've gone through a journey between albums as well, where you have Volatile Times, this like really angry, dark record, The Unified Field, which presents this sort of like balance between confusion and hope and desperation, and now finally like this journey of finally like accepting that this is something that has happened, reconciling it, and then healing at the end. Highlight tracks for me would be North Star, which just, I listened to North Star on a train and was dancing the whole time, and the person sitting next to me was like, can you just fucking stop? Like, she didn't say that, but she was just looking at me like, this girl is bananas and I want her to end. What I tend to do when I get records is I listen to them all the way through and then I'll go back and listen to songs, but I got to North Star, which is only 3 tracks in, and I just kept replaying it, and by the third play I was just like, North Star! But like it was on a train and I couldn't sing, so it was just me aggressively lip syncing and looking like a Muppet, so I'm sure she had every reason to be like, chill. Insomnia, which makes me cry every time I listen to it. The background noise is just really like, everybody has felt this at some point. And I'm probably going to say No Maker Made Me. I know it's a single, but singing that live is just really powerful and magical. It's such a good experience. This is probably one of the most complete albums I have ever heard. It's definitely the most complete album that IAMX have ever made, but it's one of the most complete albums that has come out in 2015. I will say that Aphrodisiac feels really weird to me on the record. I love it live. It's an amazing live track, but it feels out of place in its order on the album, and I think I'm the unpopular opinion with that. I know a lot of people love Aphrodisiac, but it just feels out of place to me. That's how I feel about IAMX Metanoia. Probably one of my all-time favorite records. Definitely top 5 of 2015. Really moving and powerful, and I just highly recommend that everybody listen to it. If you want a really good album to listen to, if you want something that takes you on a journey, if you want something that feels important, this is the album to listen to. It's just stunning. And also there's a lot of really powerful female vocals coming from Janine, especially on North Star. That woman's voice, it is transcendent. Her vocal features on a lot of the songs take the record to a different level. Please listen to it. I will leave a link to Spotify. Also, if you want to buy it, please buy it, support this band. They are completely independent. They have barely any label rep helping them. They market their own. They're always on Twitter, and they care a lot about their fans. Having met them, I can tell you that they care more deeply about their fans than any band that I have ever met. Join us in the kingdom. This has been my album discussion, review, pimp, post, I don't know. If you would like more discussions like this, just tell me in your comment, and have a good day.